Alright, good evening everyone. My name is Gershom, and today I'll be giving you guys my persuasive speech about why I think school uniforms are a good idea. So in my speech, I'll be going over pros as to why I think the school uniform is a good idea, as well as cons that people have brought up as to why the school uniforms are a bad idea. And as I'm wrapping up my speech in the end, I'll open up for discussion for any questions or concerns, or any input that you guys might have as far as school uniforms. So I'll get started for the first pro, education and safety. So a lot of people feel like school uniforms influence students to focus more on their education and academics as opposed to focusing on their dress and appearance, which I feel like can be a major distraction. I feel like a lot of students focus way too much on their dress appearance, especially in high school. I know I did, being a former high school student. Um, as far as improved discipline, one example that I like to use is in the Philippines, public schools mandate that all students wear uniforms, and they have mandatory inspections every week. So I feel like for school uniforms, it'll keep students on their toes to keep their uniforms, neat and clean and up to the standard that the school district enforces. And as far as dress code, obviously every school has dress code as to what students can wear um, in the school environment, and obviously school uniforms will make it way easier as everybody's wearing professional clothing and they're in their uniform. And for reduced crime, in Long Beach County of California, a school district introduced a school uniform in 2015, and from 2015 to 2016, they showed a decreased crime rate of 34%. And in other categories, assault by weapon decreased by 50%, fights decreased by 51%, sex offenses decreased by 74%, robbery decreased by 65%, possession of weapons decreased by 52%, possession of drugs decreased by 69%, and vandalism decreased by 18%. Also, in Sparks Middle School in Nevada, middle schoolers were mandated to wear a school uniform, and in 2016, they showed a decrease of 63% for police log for crimes such as graffiti, vandalism, fights, assaults, etc. And as far as gang affiliation, the Osceola County in Florida mandated that grades K through 12 wore uniform, and in 2016 they showed a decrease of gang activity among students by 46%. So I feel like school uniforms really bring a safe and good learning environment among students, and they don't have to worry about any distractions as far as dress and appearance and gang affiliation. So I'll talk about my next topic, which is unity. So I went to a public high school, and I didn't have to wear a uniform. And after high school, I joined the uniform, where I practically wear the uniform every day when I'm on duty. And I've also worn the uniform outside of base, where I'm when I'm grocery shopping on my way home. And I've met people outside of the base that were also in uniform, and I can't explain it, but there was some sort of connection that we have. Just two people being in the military in the uniform. I just conversated with them, and I didn't even know I didn't even know them prior to that or what unit they were in. So I feel like it can also be the same way for students. Students, it really brings the students together, and brings unity to every student. As far as segregation of cliques, how many of you say that you based on who you hung out with based on their clothing? Alright, so I was the same way. Obviously, my high school was just like any other high school. There were cliques such as the emo kids, the jocks, the anime freaks, the list goes on. And I feel like presenting a uniform allows students to get to know anyone, gets to know any student on a personal level that's based on more than just how they appear. One personal example that I like to use is that when I was going through Airman Leadership School, or ALS, um, I met this kid on the first day named Cody, and Cody was a really cool kid. I got to know him, um, and after the first week of school, like we decided to hang out outside of base. And little did I know, like outside of the uniform, Cody was like this emo kid who really liked listening to heavy metal and was very obsessed with cars. And that was like nothing that I was interested in. But honestly, feel like I looked past, Cody's interest in his appearance, and I just like really connected with it, connected with him on a more personal level. So I feel like a lot of students can get to know each other the same way. And as far as school spirit, in Texas there was a middle school that introduced a uniform in 2016, and after 1 year, there was an increase, or 1,000 middle schoolers showed an increase of uh, morale and school spirit after that 1 year. So I feel like it really does bring school pride into the school. And the last pro I'll be going over is peer pressure and bullying. So obviously with school uniforms, everybody's wearing the same thing, and I feel like a lot of students um, feel anxious about what they have to wear or what they need to look like just to fit in to a certain clique. I feel like it takes away, judgment. They don't have to worry about being judged, what they wore, and I really feel like, it'll bring all the students together back to the unity thing. I feel like it'll bring like all students, like regardless of, their interest together. All right, so that was the last pro. Now I'll move on to the cons, and the first con I'll be going over is taking away expression of individuality. So yes, like some students feel like they can't express themselves by like how they dress, but is that really the only way you can express yourself? Like, how do you express yourself outside of how you dress?
During extracurricular activities.
Right. What about you?
Just talking about my interests with other people.
Right. So there's definitely more ways to express yourself, right? Not just like by how you dress, right? And besides, like school is a small part of your life. You can also dress in like personal clothes outside of school, right? So I feel like that can be overlooked because I feel like there's definitely other ways that you can express yourself as far as like who you are as a person or who you are as an individual. Alright, the next con is that it does not stop bullying. I feel like, yeah, it's true that, bullying is an inevitable thing, but I feel like it's based on more than, just dress and appearance. Like people will bully you for like the way your personality, or they just don't like you just because of how you are, you know what I mean, as far as your attitude. But I feel like it does it decreases, and it takes away like one thing for you to get bullied about. Like I said, going back to the peer pressure thing, like students don't have to worry about how they dress. Like the playing level is fair, and like everybody looks the same. And I feel like they don't have to worry as much. So the last con I'll talk about is uniforms being expensive. So according to ggwatch.gov, the average cost for uniforms per year was $249. And according to thestreet.com, the average cost for back to school uniforms at the beginning of the school year cost $284. So I feel like it's not that far off, and it's really not that different as far as school clothes and school uniforms. So alright, so in conclusion, I've talked about the pros as to why I think the school uniforms are a good idea, such as safer education environment and safety, and school unity amongst students, and the school spirit, and peer pressure, decreasing peer pressure and bullying. And the cons that I've gone over were taking away freedom of expression, school uniforms don't stop bullying, and uniforms can also be expensive. So with that, you guys have any questions or concerns or anything that you'd like to add?
With all these pros and cons provided, would you want your own child to go to a uniform school?
I would like my student or my children to go to a public school.
Why is that?
I feel like I think the pros outweigh the cons, so I feel like it'll definitely like help them focus on school, and it'll really like help them fit into, help them make friends and not have to worry about, what they look like, and having to worry about what they or being judged about what they wear.
Who do you think should be providing uniforms?
I feel like the school should be providing them. Obviously, or excuse me, the school district should be providing them. They should be the ones, setting the standard as far as, what the students wear. I feel like that's
What about as far as like paying for it?
paying for it. I feel like they should be either bought out or rented, but that's just me. Like that goes to, that could also contribute to school funding. That's what the money can go to. But yeah, that's like also to add on to that, there are some like things they have to buy for school. Like the planner and whatnot. There are like some things they have to pay for. But yeah, I feel like the school should provide uniforms.
Do you think that all grades K through 12 should be wearing uniforms, or do you think that it should be limited to like some grades?
Personally, I feel like if the school district is gonna mandate uniforms, I feel like it should be for all grades. Um, I know some schools. I heard some schools like are more lenient towards students with higher grades, but I feel like they should just mandate it amongst all the grades.
How do you think being in uniform would benefit them in the long run?
In the long run, I feel like it instills like dress and appearance. Um, like interviews, like you have to be presentable. It shows like respect. You know what I mean? And I feel like students wearing uniforms like make them more presentable, and instills them that you have to be presentable. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, that was my speech. I really hope you guys really like consider my point of view of the subject, and thanks for listening.